I am Meghan Doherty. I'm the director of the Museum of the White Mountains. It's great to have you join us tonight. As we gather together, we're all on Indigenous lands. And I want to encourage each of you to learn more about the Indigenous presence in your area, both past and present. The Museum of the White Mountains is on Indakina, which is the ancestral and present homelands of the Abenaki, Pennacook, and Wabanaki peoples. We are grateful for their stewardship of these lands and waterways. I've put some links in the chat, where you can learn more about the Indigenous histories of your place at native-land.ca, as well as the Abenaki peoples of Northern New England through the Musée des Abenaki in Quebec. And as part of my research for an exhibition coming up this summer, I've been learning about efforts to preserve the culturally important brown ash tree, which is under threat from the emerald ash borer. So as we continue our Mountain Voices series, I want to share a little bit about how you might get involved with these two projects in particular. The first is based at UMaine Orono. It's an ash protection collaboration across Wabanaki, or APCAW, and they're working with tribal nations to build a seed bank for brown ash. And the other is the Monitoring and Managing Ash project out of the Ecological Research Institute in Kingston, New York. And they're studying lingering ash, as potentially emerald ash borer resistant trees offer great hope for conserving species. Both projects have many ways for volunteers to get involved, and I'll put some links in a chat in a second if you're interested in getting involved. And throughout our Mountain Voices series this academic year, we've been exploring topics related to conservation in the White Mountains, starting with a narrow band of trail that traverses Franconia Ridge. We then moved to a larger scale conversation about the role of the Forest Society in the region. And in December, we talked with two of the smaller land trusts that work adjacent to the White Mountain National Forest. And tonight, our focus will broaden to take in the important work happening in each of the three counties that intersect in the White Mountains: Coos, Grafton, and Carroll. And I'm delighted tonight to be joined by the district managers for each of the county's conservation district, so that we can all learn more about the important work that they're doing and how we might get involved with them. And I'm going to ask each of you, if you wouldn't mind, to introduce yourselves as we get started.
Absolutely. My name is Catherine Dufault. I am the Carroll County Conservation District Manager, the office of which is located on the Pequawquet tribal lands in Conway, New Hampshire. And myself and the other two district managers will be presenting today on what a county conservation district is and how to get involved. And with that, I will hand it off to Pam.
Thank you, Catherine. Pam Gilbert. I'm with Grafton County Conservation District, and our office is in North Haverhill at the Grafton County Complex. Whitney?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Whitney Lewis. I'm the district manager for the Coos County Conservation District. We are located in Lancaster, New Hampshire. And please bear with me, I'm sick, so I apologize if my voice sounds funny and I potentially have a few coughing fits. But thank you all for being here.
And with that, I think we will get started with our presentation. Thank you very much, Plymouth State and the Mountain Voices program, for having us tonight. As far as conservation districts go, we have what I think is quite the interesting history. We were founded back in the late 30s after the devastating soil erosion conditions of the Dust Bowl by President Roosevelt. President Roosevelt created legislation to support the creation of county soil and water conservation districts in every state across the country. 45 states enacted the laws before New Hampshire in May of 1945, but by May of 1946, currently every county in New Hampshire has its own conservation district.
So in this picture, you can see that this was taken with Governor Dale when he signed the bill. From left to right, there's Alfred French. He was the Secretary of New Hampshire Farm Bureau Federation. George M. Putnam, he's the president of the New Hampshire Farm Bureau Federation. And Representatives Arthur McDaniel, and he's the chairman of the Legislative Soil Conservation Committee. Governor Charles Dale, Representative Roscoe Oakes, who introduced the bill in the House, and Andrew Belker, the Commissioner of Agriculture, and Senator Scott Simpson, who sponsored a previous soil conservation bill. If it interests you to see the original document, please let Meghan know, and I'm happy to send that to her to give to you as well. It's pretty amazing. This was a very big event in history, and we're very excited to be here.
The conservation districts play an important role in the delivery and education of conservation practices that conserve soil, maintain water and water quality, and protect natural resources. They were legislatively created bodies whose form and function are defined by state law RSA 432-8-16. Conservation districts are part of a nationwide structure that is closely tied to the United States Department of Agriculture. And are a unique form of non-regulatory government. Districts match local resource needs with technical and financial resources to help landowners implement on-the-ground conservation projects. Their effectiveness is derived from their structure as local boards of knowledgeable and conserved volunteers.
More than 17,000 citizens serve in elected or appointed positions on conservation districts governing boards. These supervisors guide how their district uses resources and develops partnerships to meet local resource concerns. Among other things, conservation districts implement farm and forest land conservation practices to protect soil productivity, water quality and quantity, air quality, and wildlife habitat. Conserve and restore wetlands, which purify water and provide habitat for birds, fish, and numerous other animals. Reach out to communities and schools to teach the value of natural resources and encourage conservation efforts. Help communities and homeowners to plant trees and other land cover to hold soil in place, clean the air, provide cover for wildlife, and beautify neighborhoods, as well as provide opportunity for land users to learn about best practices, access resources, and local experts, and connect with other local land users. Now you'll notice that we use land users instead of landowners here. It's very important to us that we have equitable access to land here in New Hampshire, and that is why we use that terminology instead. Conservation districts can do many things under the state code to encourage, educate, coordinate, and take action to assist the land users within its boundaries. But what actually occurs is often largely a reflection of the dedication, vision, and commitment of conservation district supervisors and staff, of which between volunteers, supervisors, and staff, there are over 30,000 participants in conservation districts nationwide.
So we just want to highlight some similarities between Coos district along with Grafton and Carroll County. Here's a picture of Roots to Fruits Farm in Dalton, New Hampshire. So this is a farm, it's about 2 acres in size, but it has a lot of variety of what is available. Dave and Andrea Craxton, they moved there in 1980 during the farm to food movement. And you can see right here in this picture, that's my daughter. She came with me to visit the farm, and he had a bunch of fresh wild strawberries. So there she was picking a few and eating them, which she was pretty excited about. He also had a beautiful stand of softwoods, and he's very well known at the Lancaster Farmers Market for his garlic. So he actually was also the recipient of our Conservation District Legacy Award in Coos.
One of the things that conservations do is work with the area landowners and land users and try and stay in touch with what their resource concerns are so that we can work to direct their programs and meet their needs. We have over the years conducted any number of surveys asking people what their primary concerns are, and we mail them out or take surveys to meetings and stuff. And then once a year, we generally hold a local working group and invite the public to that meeting along with other resource professionals like Cooperative Extension and the Natural Resource Conservation District, Conservation Service planners and stuff. And we identify priorities on a county by county basis, and then they are implemented into the Farm Bill programs in New Hampshire. Another thing that conservation districts do for landowners in the current use program is calculate a soil potential index, and that is a weighted average of the different soil types on their property. And we complete a form that has that weighted average, which can be submitted to the town, and that helps reduce their property tax rate. And we do this through soil maps. We use the Natural Resources Conservation Service web soil survey. And that's what's in the picture, the large picture. And it gives you a map with the acreage of each soil type on that property, and then the soil potential index breeding. In the olden days, I have a few pictures. We used to do it with a planimeter or dot graphs that we would put over an aerial photo of soil map. So we've come a long way in these web soil surveys, very easy to access this information.
A new initiative in the last several years is the Conservation District's Climate Resilience Grant, which launched in 2022. It is a grant awarding up to $30,000 per county to help farmers fund projects that mitigate the impact of agriculture on climate change and enhance the on-farm adaptations to projected climate conditions. We are giving out grants with applications, of course, of up to $10,000 per project. Applicants have 2 years to complete the grant application process, final report. And again, that's available in each county. So we are hopeful that we will once again be able to give out our full funding this year and prepare for next year.
In Grafton County, our recent climate resilience grant recipients were Greenbow Farm, and they got a keyline plow to improve their soil health. They're hoping to increase the soil health to retain water and also control water in heavy periods of rain. Tolando Farm is doing a no-till cover crop on all their corn ground. Their plan was to plant it when the corn was low. And so once it was harvested, the plants were already established. But this was not the year to try that. So they do have cover cropped all their fields, but not early in June like they were hoping. We've also funded expansion of a community composting facility, and they are going to work with a local high school and a few other groups in the town of Grafton to make it a community composting experience. And then Nicole and Tewksbury, Nicole's fruit farm, got an application or an award to dig an irrigation well and install a drip irrigation system and store water. They're on a property with no electricity and did not have water previous to this grant award.
In Carroll County, we awarded 5 grants over the last year. Our largest grantees were Caldera Edge Farm in Sandwich, who implemented a season extension program as well as some integrated pest management practices. You can see one half of Caldera Edge Farm in the lower left corner with her new weed barriers. They also built a series of cold frames and utilized some silage tarps to decrease weed pressure and extend their growing season for their cut flower farm. The other large grantee was Pork Hill Farm in Ossipee, which had been depending on an ephemeral stream to irrigate their entire farm. Now, however, they have access to a drilled well to tie in with the rest of their irrigation system, which is very exciting. They are pictured in the top right. We also assisted Mountain Heartbeat Farm in Effingham with some integrated pest management practices as well as soil and water conservation practices, which is similar to what we funded at Full Moon Farm in Wolfboro with their plastic mulch that they put down to help with their irrigation system and water conservation. And at Earl Family Farm in Conway, the County Conservation District funded some work towards their no-till transition.
So for the Coos Climate Resilience Grant, we had 2 grant recipients in the year of 2022. Excuse me, sorry. We had Robinson Family Farm in Pittsburgh. He was allocated funds so he could create a manure pit and update his barnyard corral. And also Tillman Hill Farm in Whitefield. They were awarded a grant for irrigation because they're looking at creating a pick your own fruit and veggie farm stand. So we're super excited for both of them. And then in 2023, we actually had 4 grant recipients. Robinson Family Farm up in Pittsburgh submitted another application for a cattle feeder. That way it keeps your feed, your hay off of the ground, and it also has a little roof over it. That way it can decrease waste. And the cows are more happy because the food's not getting wet. Otaki Farm in Jefferson, they were awarded a grant for a large animal shade and windbreak, which helps to decrease less stress on the animals, and also improves their health and increases just feeding efficiency. Red Barn Farm in Milan, they were able to install a well for their vegetables in their farm stand. And then North Winds Farm in Stratford was able to have a hayfield update, so they can provide some hay to local farmers. Here's a picture of Robinson Family Farm. You can see the cattle feeder on the bottom. The banner is a little bit in the way, but you can see they're able to load a round bale of hay and just put it right in. It stays out of the elements, so the cows are able to eat more of it because it's not wasted, and it's also off the ground, so there's no waste on the ground as well. And to the left, you can see there also the manure pit as well, and then the barnyard corral. We're super excited to have an applicant up in Pittsburgh. And this is the Otaki Farm in Jefferson. So they create a large animal shade and windbreak. So this is just the start of it. They were able to do this throughout pretty much their whole little grazing pasture. They're super excited. The cows actually liked it. The horses liked it. So it'll be really good. It'll help with keeping the elements out this winter, at least with the wind, and also in the summer to provide some nice shade for them because it can get pretty hot, as we've realized over the summer. So another thing that we do that is similar is the erosion control workshops. So if you think about erosion control, you think a little bit of dirt doesn't really hurt anybody, But if you think about it, multiple job sites over a long period of time, if, excuse me, you're not careful, it can really, a lot of the soil can really add up into our local watersheds, and it could end up in our drinking water, impact our fish and wildlife habitat as well. So we offer an erosion control workshop for landowners, soil scientists, septic designers, and installers. They actually are able to receive credits through the state of New Hampshire Department of Environmental Subsurface Bureau. So they need to maintain certification in order to install septic systems. That way, make sure that they're doing things properly, and leaking or any of those things that could potentially happen don't. Some topics in excuse me, the workshop include just updates with regulations, understanding the soils. We go over a web soil survey, which Pam mentioned a little bit about using soil potential indexes. We utilize the web soil survey for that. That also is available for anybody. Talk about the different soils, engineering, soil amendments, invasive plant identification and management, because that's really important. We talk about blankets and mats and other basics of erosion control, seed choice and sourcing, excuse me, avoiding soil erosion on recreational sites, natural resource mapping, and even just working with your native plants. This year, you can see we had some presenters from New Hampshire Department of Transportation, Trout Unlimited, Natural Resource Conservation Service, and the UNH Cooperative Extension. We even had Trails Bureau, EJ Prescott, and Profile as well. They came and showed us some of their products, which you can see in the top picture.
One of the things conservation districts are known for statewide are the conservation plant sales we hold in the spring. We offer a variety of plants for environmental benefits such as reforestation, wind protection, shade, bank stabilization, wildlife, food and cover, and of course for people. Our plants are mostly sold as bare rootstock, and healthy, hardy plants adapted to our growing conditions are chosen. We select native species when we can, and in Grafton County, this is our biggest fundraiser, and we use the money to support district programs and educational activities. This is a great place for volunteers to help out a conservation district. We have huge boxes, and you have to care for the plants and sort them into orders, and then distribute them to the landowners. So it's a really great service, and it's a lot of fun when we have volunteers come and help us out, although it can be cold and wet. And Coos County has a conservation plant sale, and they also offer bulbs in the fall. So their information is online. You can order online, and our information at Grafton County is on our website.
So we also offer equipment rentals. So we have hand tool rentals, such as like broad forks, ground post driver, and hoop benders for high tunnels. We have 4 and 6 row seeders, soil block makers, tithers, pretty much everything you can imagine that you would need for hand tools we have in our trailer. It is $10 to rent a tool, and we just ask that you bring it back in good condition as the way you received it. We also have a wood, ash, and lime spreader. The cost to rent that is between $50 to $100 a day. The price increases, of course, if you want to rent it for a week. It is cheaper if you were to pay by the week instead of the day if you wanted it for a longer period of time. Excuse me. So what wood ash is, basically the importance of it, it's a liming agent. So basically that means it has a high calcium content, and that's used to increase the pH in soils. In the Northeast, our soils tend to be more acidic, about 4.5 to 6 for pH. 7 is neutral. So most plants prefer a soil around 6 to 7 for pH. Excuse me, unless you're, potatoes or blueberries. So this, if you were to utilize this, you'd be able to basically be able to grow some better on your land. Excuse me. And also the lime, that also helps with neutralizing, even if you had a bunch of nitrogen fertilizer that was once on your land, that'll help neutralize it. And even just high rainfall as well, that can cause problems to your lands. Whereas if you were to spread lime, that can increase, earthworm activity and improve the soil structure, and also make a better pasture, that's more palatable to your livestock. Another thing we also offer, which you can see right here, is our no-till drill. You can see all of us around it in the top picture to the right. That's me, Essex County Conservation District, a representative from Great Plains, a representative also from an ag place in Vermont. I'm sorry, I'm Champlain Valley Equipment. And then we have Chris Brady and his son Jacob Brady in Columbia from CJ Farm. They were our first renters. And we actually wrote a grant for this, a Tillotson grant, and we were able to receive it, which was super exciting. So it's been utilized by larger farmers. And what's great about the no-till drill is it's basically used for instead of having to till up your land first before you were to plant this, you can just ride it right over the top of the land and it will plant the seeds for you. So it saves time for the farmer. It's also more environmentally friendly as well. And it cuts down costs on fuel, which helps with the climate. And it's important because, of course, you use it to decrease soil erosion and also increase the amount of water that infiltrates the soil and keeps the nutrients cycling. Another rental that Grafton County has, is an aerator. An aerator, basically, it's kind of like a roller with little fingers on it, and it pokes holes into the soil to get air and water into the soil to increase filtration. And we offer our tool rentals. Everything that you need is online. So you can visit our website and you can see a whole list of our hand tool rentals, and also review the rental agreement as well. The no-till drill cost is $250 a day. The aerator, Pam, how much do you charge for the aerator? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. $5 or $7 per acre. I can't remember at the moment.
Sorry to put
That's
you on
pretty
the spot.
reasonable, and you tow it behind a pickup truck, to move it from site to site. It is 6 feet wide, so, and it can do a lot, kind of like your no-till on uneven ground and stuff. It rolls over it, and so it.
That's a good point. Thank you, Pam. For our hand tool rentals, you can just pick up, or if you wanted to rent a lot that is in a trailer with a hitch, same with the wood ash lime spreader, you can transport that with a pickup. With our no-till drill, it is 10 feet wide, so it's very large. So you would need a heavy duty pickup for that, for transporting. In the bottom left, that is a picture. The Flint farm in Milan was actually utilizing that, and that was on Milan Hill, for those of you that are from Coos and are curious where that is.
Conservation districts are often out and about around the state at fairs, and the display is from the New Hampshire Farm and Forest Expo, and Catherine was helping out there, and the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Districts has a table and has information on all the conservation districts, and then any highlights from conservation districts. Whitney goes to the Lancaster Fair, and for Coos County, and this is a picture of our rental equipment at the New Hampshire North Haverhill Fair in July.
We'd like to take the opportunity now to talk about some of the different services that the county conservation districts provide. As previously, we've mostly been discussing all things that we offer together. And that doesn't mean just because something is mentioned here that it isn't offered in another county, but we're highlighting our strongest programs, I think. Carroll County has been fortunate enough for the last 10 years to partner with the New Hampshire State Conservation Committee Moose Plate Program and the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to enact some stream restoration in Carroll County. Stream restoration has a positive impact on water quality, as well as increasing habitat for native brook trout and other species. Because of this, we work very closely with Trout Unlimited, as well as New Hampshire Fish and Game, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and our favorite contractor, Tin Mountain Conservation Group, up in Albany. We are very thankful to have had this opportunity. It allows us to connect with local landowners and increase water quality truly throughout the county. The photo you see on the left is of some Tin Mountain interns working with John McGee of Fish and Game. They're electrofishing, so they're conducting a baseline study on trout species and macroinvertebrates in the brook. The middle photo, you can see some intentional woody additions there. We use pre-existing species along the stream bank and fell them into the water to slow it down, decrease turbidity, and create pools where little fish can spawn. And then on the far right is Tin Mountain's former research manager, Katie Lewis, holding a thank you sign for the State Conservation Committee's Moose Plate program, which is the program that folks are supporting when they buy those conservation plates to license their cars. So we are very grateful to have received that grant for the last 10 years or so. The County Conservation District also works closely with the Natural Resource Conservation Service in conservation easement monitoring in Carroll County. Landowners in Carroll County can opt in to an easement program. They might choose to do a farm and ranch lands protection program, such as pictured on the left, or a wetland reserve easement on the right, in exchange for financial and conservation planning benefits from the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And the way that the district participates in that is essentially by working, contacting landowners and talking to them and walking the property to assure everything is as it should be, as well as connecting landowners with further conservation resources that they can access through the Natural Resources Conservation Service. One of Carroll County's strongest programs is their conservation education, which takes place through a true variety of mediums. Everything from the birdhouse painting workshop that we co-hosted with the Conway Public Library that was attended by quite a few ecstatic children, to working with the National Leave No Trace program to host a week-long series of workshops at Diana's Baths in Bartlett, New Hampshire to decrease tourism impacts sustainably while hopefully not having an effect on their bottom line. And then one of the biggest and most well-attended things that we do here is our apple tasting workshop every fall. Jared Kane of Branch Hill Farm manages to tie this in quite well with the importance of crop diversity, which is something that can be applied across a range of crops. But we use apples at this lovely setting of Uplands Apple Farm in Eaton, where we taste over 20 varieties. Other workshops in the same vein have included apple tree grafting, and then new this year, we will also offer a pruning class. So please stay tuned for that. And Jared specializes in heirloom and heritage varieties, so we know how to take care of old trees and conserve those throughout time. Carroll County has been fortunate enough to host a few legislative tours over the last couple of years. We use these as an opportunity to educate legislators about the importance of conservation in Carroll County and truly throughout the state, as tourism, specifically ecotourism, is one of the largest drivers of our economy. We started our tour 2 years ago at Sherman Farms, which is in East Conway, New Hampshire, where folks learned about agritourism, the benefits of working with the Natural Resources Conservation Service. We handed out a Conservation Legacy Award to a much beloved local conservation leader from Green Mountain Conservation Group. And then we headed over to one of our trout stream restoration sites where Rick Vandepoel of Tin Mountain was able to give a talk on the importance of restoring these streams to our local fishermen and sportsmen who might visit our state, and hopefully bring in some more money to support both the county and the statewide economy.
I thought when I started thinking about what Grafton County Conservation District does, looking back through past activities, all conservation districts just work with a lot of different partners on just a huge variety of programs, which makes it really fun. We are partners with the Upper Valley Land Trust and a regional conservation partnership program. And that the object of that is to conserve farmland, but these RCPP has landowners in that area are able to conserve more forest land and not just ag land. And so that RCPP gives a lot of our county landowners an opportunity to conserve more of their land and not be limited by a ratio between ag land and forest land. We've also been working with the White River Natural Resources Conservation District on a transition to grazing for dairy farms project, and that's funded by the Northeast Dairy Business Innovation Center. And farm cohorts are formed and people visit each other's farms and talk about different aspects and challenges with transition to grazing. Several years ago, we had a series of high tunnel workshops that were virtual in the winter, and we talked about economics of a high tunnel and siting your high tunnel and construction, and then food and really important timing of the food you're growing and the harvest so that it can be consumed. We also did a session with Stories from the North, and that was with the Vermont Healthy Soils Coalition and Littleton Food Co-op, sharing experiences about, we talked about healthy soils and building resilient communities. And the conservation districts on the Connecticut River also participated in a hydropower happy hour series that with the Connecticut River Conservancy and the Nature Conservancy about the dam relicensing on the Connecticut River. They worked hard to include passages or practices that were fish friendly and less harmful to the fish. One thing Grafton County has been doing with the help of the Natural Resources Conservation Service is cover crop projects. And if you go to the next slide, you can see a picture of an airplane in 1976. The district worked with 17 landowners to seed winter rye aerial seed from an airplane. And this was successful, but it really used a lot of winter rye per acre. And the catch wasn't always that great because some of the seed would fall into the corn, which is, a known problem with aerial seeding. But it was an early project that the Conservation District did to try and encourage encourage cover cropping on the land. And part of the challenge is with the northern counties, getting your corn off in time to have a good establishment of the cover crops to protect the soil over the winter. Grafton County went on and participated in a couple more recent cover crop demonstration projects at the county farm, and we worked with UNH Extension Ag Resources and the county farm manager. We identified sites for the for cover crop treatments and collected soil for soil testing. And then some of the project grew a shorter 85-day corn so that it could be harvested and a cover crop could be established. And then the next spring, we no-till planted the corn into a winter rye cover crop by rolling it down with a special roller crimper no-till corn planter. Another treatment area in that project was aerial seeding with a helicopter. And that was better able to target the cornfields because it wasn't as wide a disbursement as, say, an airplane. But it's still some of the catch wasn't as good. Some of the seed went into the corn, and some of the cover crops just never really flourished once the corn canopy closed in. We then went on and tested some different cover crop mixes because that helps establish organic matter and helps improve the soil health. So we worked with a couple different farms and tried different cover crops planted at different times to see what worked well in, this was a statewide project, but what worked well in all the soils in New Hampshire. We have had a lot of inquiries over the years about silvopasture and also agroforestry. So in 2018, we had a couple of workshops on silvopasture, and we had people from out of state, consulting forester, Jeff Jourdain, and Bill Fosher, who is working with the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Districts, and also Joe Orfici, who is with Cornell natural resource specialist at the time, came and we did a few pasture walks and talked about how to establish silvopasture and kind of the pros and cons of silvopasture in New Hampshire. We also had a great workshop on one of the first wood and stream conservation practices from Natural Resource Conservation Service funding. And that was in Orford, and we had a good workshop, and the landowner was able to talk about the permitting for the wood and stream process, and the contractor was there and talked to us about placing the wood, cutting the wood and placing it, and they did that with no heavy equipment. Another project we did recently was aquatic habitat restoration in the Beebe River, and Trout Unlimited and New Hampshire Fish and Game had started this project. They had more work to do in the watershed and asked us if we would like to be fiscal agents in a New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services ARM grant. And this is an example of the upper left is the inlet for a culvert that crosses Perch Pond Road. There are actually two culverts there, and they did not function very well at all. They crossed under the road, and on the exit side they were high up and perched, and aquatic animals could not get through. We installed this bridge and did a lot of shaping in the stream bed. The project did. Trout Unlimited was the lead on the construction of that, so that aquatic habitat could now pass under and through and get up to Perch Pond. And that was a great project and kind of a new one for us. We hadn't done any of that before. Another fun project we did is grassland habitat restoration in a hayfield at the Grafton County Farm. And we had to do planning for this, go around and lay out what was going to be cut. Over the years, the field edges had crept in and there was a lot of shrubby brush, and we thought we could improve the habitat by creating a soft edge, a more shrubby edge, and then there were some younger trees that were allowed to stay so they could develop and create more habitat diversity. We also, several years ago, constructed a portable skidder bridge in a workshop, and attendees, the wood was donated by the lumber mill, and the attendees came and they actually built a skidder bridge, which we were then able to raffle off to support our conservation scholarship fund. We also, in addition to a lot of workshops, we work with Ag in the Classroom and other events to help educate students on the importance of soil and pollinators, and we've done some education things on composting and things like that. So we often go to many education events.
So bear with me, guys, as I try and present here. So Whitney Lewis, Coos County Conservation District. I thought I'd share some stats with you about Coos County in case some of you are from below the notch. So as you know, we're the northernmost county and the largest county in New Hampshire. We make up about 20% of the land area in New Hampshire, which is approximately 1,800 square miles. We have about just a little over 33,000 people here with a population density of about 19 people per square mile. So we have spots that are quite remote. We share a border with Maine, Vermont, and also Canada. We have the White Mountain National Forest and the Nash Stream State Forest, which cover quite a bit of our county. And excuse me, as Meghan was saying at the beginning of the presentation, that our home in Coos is with the Abenaki tribe. And the people that really built the North Country, they're definitely very hardy and courageous. And Coos is an Indian word for dwellers in the pine tree place. So a few similarities that we already mentioned, I just wanted to highlight again that the other districts offer that we do. The Climate Resilient Grant, our plant sale fundraisers, which that is also, like Pam mentioned, their biggest fundraisers for the year. That also is our biggest fundraisers for the year as well, to help with operational costs, with offering programs, school kids programs, and scholarships, equipment rentals, and of course, erosion control workshops. And this is a photo from Don Macomber in Milan, and that shows the Kilkenny mountain range. So one of our really biggest projects that finally just came to light was in land conservation. So we had about 60 inquiries from landowners who were interested in potentially conserving their land for future generations and for wildlife and habitat. And we worked with these landowners and also collaborated with multiple land trusts throughout the central and northern part of the state. And Coos does not have a land trust specifically. Land trusts are located in other parts of the state. So after meeting and talking with all the landowners, everyone agreed that we were hoping we could find a land trust that would expand north into Coos County, and we're super happy that the Ammonoosuc Conservation Trust now is expanded into Coos County. They have hired 2 part-time positions based in Coos, One serves specifically for meeting with landowners, and the other one is the boots on the ground work in the field. We also have 8 landowners from Coos that serve on the boards down at ACT for county representation. And currently there are approximately 800 acres that they're working on conserving with more landowner interests. So this just came into fruition over this past year. So we're super excited to already see 800 acres being conserved in such a short time. So we offer a scholarship to Berry Conservation Camp each year. Berry Conservation Camp is a really wonderful program for kids who love the outdoors and really enjoy hands-on learning. It's a very small camp, and it's located in the White Mountain National Forest in Berlin behind their fish hatchery. And it's run by UNH Cooperative Extension 4-H programs and in cooperation with New Hampshire Fish and Game. So they have 6 cute little cabins there. And they have been operating since 1984, educating young people. So they educate about wildlife, natural resources, help them develop leadership skills, where these kids can go learn these things and bring them back to their communities. This year, they're offering fisheries, hunting education, a shooting sports, a mini camp for our younger kiddos, walk on the wild side, and now they even offer junior conservation officer training. So definitely a great program. Please, if you know some kids that would like to enjoy some time outside and meet new friends, I highly recommend this program. I went through it when I was 15, actually, and I actually used to be a camp counselor there as well. So it's near and dear to my heart for many reasons. We also partner with UNH for the Seedlings to Schools program. So this is a program where myself and my board of supervisors were happy to collaborate with schools all throughout the North Country in Coos County. And every single Coos County elementary student is able to get a spruce tree. And we have conservation professionals come into the schools, if allowed, where we talk about the importance of forest conservation. You can see down here, I went into a private school in Berlin with some kiddos. And at the bottom right, we had, it was during COVID, but we had a local Boy Scout troop help to get these seedlings from the New Hampshire State Nursery to deliver to all of the Coos County schools. Some other school programs that we offer. In the spring, we offer Conservation Field Day also for elementary school kids in northern New Hampshire, so they can meet conservation professionals and really learn more about the importance of conservation. And now we also plan a Woods Day during Earth Day for elementary students in Central Coos. So they're able to meet conservation professionals, learn about soil science, wildlife habitat and management, forestry, map and compass, wildlife firefighting, and overall conserving and preserving New Hampshire's resources. You can see this one this fall was located at Milan Hill State Park in Milan, New Hampshire. We were delighted to have presenters from New Hampshire Fish and Game, New Hampshire Forest and Lands, UNH Cooperative Extension, and the local fire department. And with New Hampshire Fish and Game, the new conservation officer who covers Pittsburgh was there. And it was really fun. He did a rescue demonstrations, and that was really a huge hit for the students. We also offer a scholarship to the New Farmer School program. So this is a UNH program. It consists of about 8 weeks. It is a hybrid position, and it includes topics on soils and site assessment, agricultural regulations, enterprise selection, infrastructure considerations, marketing, insurance basics, financial and production record keeping, and also learning about state agencies and other ag producers, or providers, excuse me. in New Hampshire. It's if you are interested in farming but not really sure where to start and how to run it, run your farm, this is definitely a really good program for you where you could benefit to learn a lot of key components, but also even meet some other farmers who are kind of in the same boat and others that are maybe more advanced. And it's a really good uplifting, positive community. So I highly suggest it. This picture is at my supervisor's house in Jefferson, where we had a large group of, I think there's probably almost 20 people that came out this last fall. So something really exciting, we created a North Country Conservation Series podcasts. So these podcast series explore careers in conservation for, excuse me, local Coos County professionals. So we reflect on the history of Coos County with conservation efforts, discover what conservation really is and why it's truly important, and what we look at towards the future. Excuse me. The first 3 episodes, excuse me, we highlight in that picture right there is retired conservation officer Lieutenant Wayne Saunders from New Hampshire Fish and Game out of Lancaster. He talked to us about all kinds of fun aspects of being a conservation officer, and he also runs, now being retired, a Warden's Watch podcast. So it was fun to have him in studio. I was also able to speak with fisheries biologist Andy Schaefermeyer from New Hampshire Fish and Game, and David Falkenham, who's a local forester. In the later episodes, I highlighted dairy farming with Scott DeBois, who is a 3rd-generation farmer, dairy farmer at Blue Mountain Dairy in Columbia. And I talked about soil science with former Natural Resource Conservation District employee for decades, Joe Homer. He also pretty much worked to create Web Soil Survey, so it was really great to have his expertise. And also talked about the history of farming in Coos with Keith Robinson from Robinson Family Farm in Pittsburgh. So these are on our website. You can go ahead and check them out. Basically, if you're not sure what a podcast is, you just click on it and you can listen to it. A lot of people like to listen to them in the car as they drive, or if you want to sit at home and listen to it to learn educational stuff in a different way, you can do that too. Excuse me. So additional grants and educational projects. Right now, we're currently working on a grant to bring conservation to Coos, which would be a TV series highlighting the awesome conservation careers in the county. We're hoping that I could go out in the field with them, see what they do, and bring them back into the studio to reflect on what they're doing and why it's important. And this could also be added to complement our podcast series. In this picture on the left, this is again at Woods Day, and that's Austin from New Hampshire Fish and Game. And you can see while we were doing search and rescue grid searches, the kids were finding his light stick and gloves and his winter hat. One great thing about Woods Day this year is I sent a post-reflection survey excuse me, to all the teachers and the staff who attended the Fun Field Day. And I asked them if they would recommend this program to other Coos County schools. And the response was 100% of teachers and administrators definitely recommended this Woods Day event program to other schools in the county. So that was pretty amazing to have 100% of all teachers and administrators want this to be brought to other schools. Another question was, did you learn any new content from the presenters that maybe you weren't aware of beforehand? And 80% of the staff said yes, they learned something new. So it's really neat to see, not only is it benefiting the children, but also it's benefiting the educators as well. Excuse me. I also asked if we were to receive a grant to support conservation education programs with local conservation professionals in schools, would you be interested in participating? And 90% of the teachers and administrators said yes, and 10% said maybe. So it's just a really good way to gear that there definitely is an interest here. not only at the children's level, but the administrators level and the teachers level as well. Recently, we're starting to work with Trout Unlimited, as Pam and Catherine also mentioned that they have done. Excuse me. So we're working with them on grant submissions to assist them in culvert assessments and educational and outreach opportunities within our county. This is a picture of a stream. As you can tell, the culvert is not in great shape on the left. And then on the right-hand side, you can see definitely a lot better for aquatic passage of species. And this project was done with Fish and Game, Trout Unlimited, and the district conservationist for the North Natural Resource Conservation Service. Photo credit from Kelly Eggleston, who I work closely with. So we're super excited to get a little bit more involved in these programs and see what we can offer. As of right now, there's been a lot of culvert assessments throughout the Androscoggin River Valley, but the Connecticut River Valley needs to be really assessed. So we're hoping that we can assist more in that in the upcoming years. Something new this year is invasive plant species management. So we partnered with New Hampshire Fish and Game, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in Vermont, and along with other municipalities, especially Lancaster, where we worked in the UC SISMA, the Upper Connecticut Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area, which you can see in this picture to the right. And it spans all the way from the tippy top of Pittsburgh all the way down to Lancaster. And the goal basically of this partnership with all of these different organizations is to target the invasive plant species, especially Japanese knotweed. You can see in the picture to the right that there's a lot of red and green dots. All those red and green dots are Japanese knotweed. The other dots are other invasive species such as oriental bittersweet, phragmites, and others. So we're really hoping to preserve and restore native biodiversity to the landscape and support the balance of food chains in the ecosystem, and also assist landowners and municipalities in the management of invasive species. We work with a person from Massachusetts who helps with treatment because we want to decrease the spread and really try to manage it on properties. That way it does not spread throughout the entire county, because knotweed will pretty much choke everything else off for native habitat, and it's extremely hard to get rid of. So the more we can try to be proactive in managing it, what we have right now, the better off we'll be to see success. This year we were able to do this work because we received a grant which was able to fund a part-time seasonal position excuse me, to do the boots on the ground work in the county. They specifically did a lot of work in Lancaster. The town of Lancaster is being very proactive, and we're really hoping that other towns throughout the county will be proactive as well. Currently, we're also partnering with the SISMA on another grant to fund a full-time position for the next 3 years to continue working on this invasive species management in the county and also in bordering Vermont towns. So I figured I'd put in a few comments here for feedback. One is from the highway department foreman from the town of Lancaster. So he's definitely saying how treatments are helping the crew significantly, especially in the town's right-of-ways. They really are happy because the landowners, land users do not want the knotweed growing onto their property either. So they're happy to be able to have assistance with that. And also at the transfer station at the town of Lancaster, they had a huge area of knotweed, and they've been seeing the effects of the spraying treatment, and looking forward to seeing how how effective it's working despite it being a multi-year effort. So that's really exciting. And then Sue and Harry also just landowners, and they're just really happy, saying it's a wonderful project that we've undertaken to try and rid the invasive plant in the community. And your effort will certainly enhance the view we will get out of the woods bordering our land. They're excited because they're seeing how the treatment's working, and so it will turn brown and start shrinking. So they're super happy and excited and thankful that we were able to assist them, and they're looking forward to more treatment next year. So overall feedback is very, very good. There's, I believe, about 180 treatment sites as of right now. I just wanted to highlight our native plant nursery, so you can see that's also my background picture. Currently we have an acre of land located in the town of Columbia, and this is where we're currently growing willows for landowners to utilize in stream bank restoration projects. We also have another few native species growing there as well, and we're hoping to really add more over the years. That way they can be utilized for conservation projects. We're also hoping that it can create more of an area that's accessible for schools, where we can host other educational workshops. Excuse me. Next slide, please, Catherine. Thank you. This one was new to this year, and we're really excited about it. So this year we were able to make donations to children for Christmas. We were able to donate to the Coos County Toys for Kids program. So that's located in Berlin, and it's for families and children in need of special Christmas from Santa. It's run by the local Marine Corps League, and my supervisors approved us for $500 to donate worth of toys for kids aged 6 months all the way to 15 years old, in hoping to inspire children's interest in agriculture and forestry. We went to Tractor Supply. You could see that's me there with my little daughter, and we went to Tractor Supply, and we chose a bunch of agriculture-based toys and forestry-based toys to donate to these kiddos. And that's with Dave Doobie from Dummer. He's the Marine who's in charge of this program. We also were able to bring up toys to Pittsburgh, New Hampshire as well, because they have a Christmas for program for donations for kids as well. So it's great to span throughout the whole county to meet that need. There was 351 children that were able to come and receive toys for Christmas just in Berlin, 100 from Pittsburgh. So there's definitely a huge need.
This is a list, by no means complete, of partners that we have all worked with: New Hampshire Fish and Game, New Hampshire Forest and Lands, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Trout Unlimited, Upper Connecticut Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area, the project that Whitney was talking about in Lancaster. UNH Cooperative Extension is a huge help in education in our different workshops and projects. The New Hampshire State Conservation Committee manages, and the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Districts also is able to provide money on demonstration projects and other things. And of course, in Natural Resource Conservation Service, conservation districts have long been co-located or worked with the NRCS, and we also ask them to help us with many of our workshops and information on conservation practices.
So we already kind of highlighted some projects that we do together as a conservation district group, but just gonna reiterate it again here, a few other things. So the North Country High Tunnel series, you can find that on our website. It's where we partnered with NRCS, Grafton and Carroll County, Cooperative Extension, and Conservation Districts. We covered the basics of high tunnels, site selection and construction, NRCS programming for high tunnels, our district tool rentals, high tunnel management, and winter growing and challenges. So if you're thinking about ever wanting to invest in a high tunnel, definitely take a look and watch this series. There's a few people that really wanted to invest in one, and then after taking the series, they realized, wow, this is a lot more than we thought it would be. So it gives you a really good idea of what you're in for ahead of time, so you know what to expect. The erosion control workshop I already mentioned, where it's a workshop for landowners and soil scientists and septic designers and installers that are seeking their professional development hours to fulfill their state certification. And again, we have presenters from NRCS, New Hampshire Department of Transportation, UNH, Cooperative Extension, Trout Unlimited, and Conservation Districts as well. One thing that we're really looking forward to, we just had a meeting on this last week, is we want to offer a workshop based around a carbon forest. So the three of us, conservation district managers, are working together with UNH Cooperative Extension foresters to host a workshop with educational components and then an in-forest field demonstration. So we're basically going to be reviewing the background of what a carbon forest is, review all sides of what it is, the pros and the cons and trade-offs, and really speak about recent legislature around carbon as well. It seems to be a new upcoming topic. So as conservation districts, we really want to try to meet that need, and we hear people talking about it. So we want to provide insight as best as possible.
We've talked a lot about what the conservation districts have to offer, and we're hoping to get a little traction in what you might be able to offer your conservation district. So two big ways to get involved are the spring and fall plant sale fundraisers. Currently, they are being offered by many conservation districts, not just Coos and Grafton County, but as Coos and Grafton County are here today, it's important to do a shout out to them. It is great to have the volunteers on hand who will help maintain the stock and prepare the stock for distribution, dividing up orders, taking orders, et cetera, and also for supervisor vacancies. Each conservation district is supported by a board of ideally 5 supervisors with the option for more associate supervisors, and these supervisors help direct and maintain the conservation district as well as hold it accountable. They are approved by the New Hampshire State Conservation Committee, and we are almost always looking for more folks for supervisors. So please get in touch with us if you have any interest in being a part of the Board of Supervisors for your conservation district. It is between 90 minutes and 5 hours a month of your time, and it really helps shape conservation within your local area.
So we figured that you guys might be interested in getting in touch with us, especially if you live in one of our counties. So here's a list of all of our contact information, and also our websites and Facebook pages. So please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you and see what we can do to help you. Thank you all for coming tonight and hanging on and dealing with me and my cold. So thank you all again. We appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing from you.
And we're now open to any questions folks may have.
Yeah, well, thank you all for all of this information. I feel like you must all be so busy and sort of always thinking about different aspects of what's happening across these pretty large and diverse geographic regions. So this is amazing. I sort of selfishly arranged this event because I've known Whitney for a very long time and have interacted with the Coos Conservation District, but knew there was more to it, and have just, I guess, 2 years ago now moved to Grafton County. And so this was really like self-serving, and that I wanted to know what you all did. And so this was a great introduction. So thank you all for that. We do have one question so far, and please, others, feel free to put them in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand. Catherine, do you maybe want to close the screen share? Yeah, there we are. So the first question we had was so the person thanks you for the presentation, and it's from your presentations, agrotourism is clearly growing. Are you working with any of the University System of New Hampshire institutions and their tourism programs? So we saw that great list of partners, and so I think the question is wondering if you're working with any of the faculty at Plymouth or UNH with their tourism faculty members related to that. I don't know if anybody wants to.
I can only speak for Carroll County.
Yeah.
We are not. We try to work closely with our town and regional chambers of commerce, and find that they are really valuable partners, especially where, North Conway is in our county, as is half of Lake Winnipesaukee. So we find the chambers of commerce and the local tourism bureaus have a lot to offer us, but that's certainly a connection I would be happy to make if the opportunity was made. Although we don't have any institutions of higher learning here in Carroll County, so I don't know.
We're not that far away here in Plymouth, so.
I think at least in the cost aspect, we work a lot with UNH Cooperative Extension. They're very in tune, of course, with agriculture. We have a specific agricultural technician in Coos. Excuse me. And they offer the new farmer program. So I think that's definitely helping. We're noticing as a lot of new people are coming into Coos that they are interested in farming. So we direct them, to UNH Cooperative Extension. We assist them to get established, but also that program is really helpful. And we're hoping to offer some farm tours in the future. So we're looking at that more for a legislative aspect, but we could also do that at the local level with people who are just interested in wanting to visit farms. Then we can definitely absolutely do that. I think it's a great question and definitely something to consider. So thank you.
I would add, we are not working with anybody from UNH on agritourism specifically, but we do work a lot with our local farm bureaus, and we have co-hosted different events over time, and also there's a lot of often legislative proposals relating to agritourism and stuff, and so we can, we're able to kind of follow those concerns and talk to our own people that we're involved with about stuff like that. And also the New Hampshire Timberland Owners Association. We also follow a lot of legislative concerns with them related to everything, off-road vehicles and forest management stuff.
Yeah, thanks. Other questions from the audience? I have my own list of things, but no. I feel like it's very difficult for me to separate my like professional interests in something like this from my personal interests. So now I want to know all about, like, especially after December 18th, there's some stream
bank restoration that needs to happen around my house, since most of the bank of the creek that goes around our house that goes into the Pemi, I don't know, it's like in, where does it get to? The Gloucester or wherever it goes. So I guess I'm interested in hearing about kind of what like the ways in which you find yourselves responding to our recent rain events, or if there's kind of programming, or it was the willow, I think, that got me thinking about it, and then all the streams that were more kind of about aquatic passage, but thinking about the kind of land users, landowners, and the kind of response to the recent high water events, at least on this side of Grafton County. Although I think it was pretty wet on the West Coast, as you called it, Pam. And just thinking about kind of how you, I guess this is really a question about agility and how you guys are responding to these kind of really catastrophic rain events that we're having in each of our counties, and what kind of, how best to connect the sort of bigger educational pieces you're doing with some of the more immediate needs that come up after some of these big flooding events. That was a ramble of a question, but really it's about like, how do you, how do you sort of support communities, both municipalities and individuals, after some of these big flooding events?
I'd say I'll take a gander first. So at least for COAS, I've been finding that I've been doing more administrative aspect of it. So the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and also the farm excuse me, farm service, they offer a lot of assistance financially for projects, but also for people that are having these devastated flooding events. So it's more, I can't speak for their programs fully because I don't understand them fully, because they're a little complex, but it's more people are reaching out to me asking what can we do, and I connect them with them. And from there, they work with the landowners, land users specifically, to try to tailor to get their help with their needs. Like, for example, this spring in summer, we had terrible flooding on the Connecticut River, and we had farmers that lost like huge round bales of hay down, streams and the rivers. And so they worked with the farm service and are able to be a customer or client, and are able to get some financial compensation for that. So I highly suggest reaching out to them, because they offer some really great programs to help people.
Thanks.
Sadly, we're not as able to work directly with, say, homeowners that are having instances, of erosion or other resource concerns. We do work, and NRCS works with, farms and ag land or forest land. So we can do a lot of education, and we often do a lot of referring if an individual is having a problem. And sometimes, one of the things we do is have tours that can highlight successful restorations or works in progress, that sort of thing. So I would say that's probably our most direct assistance, because we don't have funds like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks. This was wonderful. And I suddenly looked up and it's 7:25, and I know I've taken a lot of your time tonight, and I really appreciate your taking the time to share with us what each of your counties are doing, and how you kind of work together across those lines. And we'll share information with people who registered tonight, and as well as I was thinking in our February newsletter, we could include additional information about what you all are doing, and how folks might get involved, and looking forward to plant sales and those sorts of things, to just kind of further communicate out the great work that that you're doing and the important work that you're doing in our 3 counties. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight.